Hey folks, it's your pal Mike Shea from slyflourish.com and twitter.com/slyflourish, here with another episode of Sly Flourish's Lazy DM Prep. This is an hour-long show in which we chat about D&D, and I prepare for my Sunday D&D game, in this case, which is Waterdeep Dragon Heist. So it's a pretty freeform show. We could talk about all kinds of different things. I got a lot of things to talk about today, and I don't know how much prep I need to do for today's game because my characters are headed straight into Blue Alley. Blue Alley, if you are not familiar with it. I can click on the right link. How come that's not working? That's some weirdness. Weird. Why is that not working? My browser window has crashed. My Chrome window crashed. We are going to just kill that thing and restart it. Bang. That probably hosed everything up, didn't it? Oh, look at that. That's some weirdness right there. Oh, strange things are happening here. All right, let me get this working here. All kinds of weirdness. Let's get my Chrome window crashed. Yeah, isn't that weird? Don't worry, I'm going to fix it here in a second. That's because it chose to share my... let's move that, and then that. There we go. How's that? It's twitchy. That's a little bit better, I think. I just got to get that window. Yeah, my Chrome window crashed right in the middle of all this. That's unfortunate. So let's look at Blue Alley like we were going to before it crashed. This is the PDF for Blue Alley. I'm not going to rip through the whole thing because I don't want people to copy it off the channel. And my God, I really love that town art. Yeah, isn't it cool? Yeah, that's the Terrible Summer over on the right. So you can get Blue Alley over on the DM's Guild for $5. It was written by Alan Patrick and MT Black. MT Black, fantastic veteran of adventure writing. 53 ratings with an average of 4.5 stars, which is pretty great for 53 ratings. And it is a death trappy dungeon. So in my last session, I had hinted about it a couple of sessions ago, and then last session they did a bunch of strange things. And then at the end of the game, I said, "So where do you want to head next?" And they all said Blue Alley. So they're all going to Blue Alley. Hey, my mom is here. Hello, Mom. She says good morning. Everybody say hello to my mom. So yeah, let me talk about what happened in last week's game before we get into this week's game. Hopefully this won't be quite as traumatic. So last week, and look, I put little X's down when I marked off a secret. Mom Flourish. That is a better handle. I think my mom should pick up that handle. Oh, we got so much to talk about. I want to talk about this stuff. I want to talk about Shadow of the Demon Lord a little bit, and I want to talk about my Patreon page, which is awesome and scary, and I want to talk about what I want to do with it. So, anyway, last week, they began with a dinner invitation from JB Nevercott aboard their ship, which was... I don't remember the name of the ship. I wrote it down here somewhere. Anyway, aboard his ship. And so they met JB Nevercott, and they went and they saw there were a bunch of circus performers on the top of the ship. So they watched a few circus things, and then a Displacer Beast got free. Somebody in chat last time brought up Displacer Beast and Displacer Beast wrangling. And so they did, except the Displacer Beast got away, and the characters had to wrangle the Displacer Beast. And they did, and they succeeded, and it was cool. They actually got the Displacer Beast back in its cage. Then they had a nice dinner with JB Nevercott where he talked about a lot of stuff, and he said, "Hey, I will help finance your bar." And they're like, "What's the catch?" And he's like, "No catch." And they're like, "Sure, there's a catch." And he goes, "Well, I just like to know more. We want more stable, we want more of a stable presence here in Waterdeep. And we're not going to come show up with bodies at the door. And we're not going to, we're not going to smuggle illegal goods through your shop. We just want a stake. But it's a non-voting partnership. So we will give you 600 gold dragons for your place. And in return, we'd like to be able to come by and talk to you about what's going on in the world and what's happening. We think there's lots of things happening in the city, and we kind of want to know what's going on, and we're hoping you'll tell us about it. They also know that JB Nevercott has lots of spies in the city. They're aware of that too. So they were very apprehensive, but in the end they said, yeah, we'll sign a contract, but the contract has to say that we can buy you back out again. So if we decide we want you out of the picture, we can give you 600 gold dragons and you'll be disconnected. And he said, yeah, that's fair. So, he's not looking for a profit. He's not looking for anything. He's like, I want a contract and I want to be on the lease. And he signed their lease as a signatory. Just so you can't take my 600 gold dragons and walk away, we got to have some kind of commitment here. And they're like, okay. So he had it signed. And then, the head, Zardoz Zord, the head of the ship, showed up, and he was this big blustery guy. And he's like, how's it going? And he kind of talked to them for a little bit. I got things to do, but it was good to see you. Got to run. And so he just said hello and ran. He said, my man JB never got here. We'll take good care of you. And so that all worked out. That all worked out really well. That was a board. Why don't I put the picture up for that? Because it's pretty sweet. If we go, we don't want to look at that yet. Let's go back to here and let's go to Maestro's Fall. Does it have a picture of the ship? There it is. Look at that. That was the ship that they went on. The Sea Maiden's Fair was the name of the ship. So a lot of conversation. Some of the players, I think, got kind of frustrated, and for two reasons. One is you can only go so long having a conversation at a dinner table without people getting bored. And two is they just feel like they're going to get screwed. They don't know how, but I think the meta conversation they had is like, Mike's going to screw us somehow, right? And I'm like, nah, he's not really going to screw. I'm not really going to screw him. But, now they're in league with JB Nevercott. Like, that's the deal. So, I don't know. But I sensed some frustration with them. And they were kind of like, you're making this deal so we can't say no. But we know we're going to get hosed and we don't really want to do it. And I try to make it clear. JB's like, look, if you don't want to do it, you don't want to do it. Like, I'm not going to make you do it. But they're like, 600 gold crowns. Why would we turn that? Gold dragons. Why would we turn that away? So they did it. And then they went on their way back. And they got jumped by were-rats, I think, who tried to grab them up. That's right. They got hit by were-rats. And they killed the were-rats. The were-rats were supposed to kill them all but one and then drag one of them down into the sewers. And that was sort of like a Blackstaff, or not a Blackstaff. That was a Xanathar agent that was going to drag them down. So they have a new villain that they know about who's a berserker, and I of course forgot her name. I should have written it down here in the notes and I didn't. Oh, that was a mistake. So they have a new villain that they're going to deal with, but they're like, yeah, whatever. So then they go back to Trollskull Manor, and there's this like disheveled guy at the door, and he says that his name is Milrock. And I made a mistake, which was I thought that the players knew who Milrock was, and only one of the players was really paying attention to Milrock, Tyler Milrock, and that was Banjo. And the problem is that the player for Banjo wasn't there, and Banjo was the one that did the whole thing. So I should have waited until this one, but I screwed up. And so they dealt with this cool thing that Banjo did, but the player for Banjo wasn't there. So that was a mistake, just because I could have held that back, and I could have had that happen after Blue Alley when the player was back. But I didn't realize, I just forgot who it was connected to. So whoops. Good to remember, like, which player has a hook for a thing that you're going to drop into the game, so that you drop the right thing and making sure they're there. His nacho problem says, are you treating JB Nevercott and Zardoz Zord as separate persons rather than aliases of Jarlaxle? Boy, big spoiler. I'll tell you what my trick is. I don't know which of them is Jarlaxle right now. I was talking to my wonderful and beautiful wife about this on a walk, and I said, one of the tricks to not giving away the ending or the secret is not to have one in the first place. So what if Jarlaxle had a doppelganger ally, and the two of them are constantly and continually shifting appearance as one or the other, and they share notes, and this could kind of get out. So they are one and both personas of Jarlaxle. I have the feeling the person they had dinner with was probably actually Jarlaxle, and Zardoz Zord was being played by a doppelganger, but they could have easily switched, so It's kind of fun not to really know for sure. This is one about like murder mysteries and stuff. If you keep the mystery to yourself as well, it gives you a lot of flexibility to drop in who the actual killer is, and they can't guess because you don't know who it is either. So mysteries are a fun one if you don't know what the answer is, and then you just sort of, it's a very hands-on, kind of loose hand approach to running a mystery game, is like keep these sort of mysteries out there and then make them true as you go. I remember I ran a 4th edition campaign once, and the players found an old book. No, what was it? There were two clues. One, they found an old book that mentioned them in it, and they were like, "Is that a prophecy? Did we go back in time? Like, was there something there?" And I don't know. I didn't. I just put their names in. I thought it was fun. And the other ones, that's right. There was a creature. It was called the hero slaying Hydra. Was the name of the monster. And I love the idea that there was this monster that was like genetically created to kill heroes in particular, and in this case, genetically created to kill our heroes. But the creature was like thousands of years old. So like somebody knew that the player characters were going to get far enough ahead that they're going to have to start building a creature just to kill them. That was like a 1,000-year-old creature. But how did they know? And so it created this whole weird mystery. And I didn't know the answer until I figured it out later. It sort of fell in place that there was this pillar in the middle of an old war plane that was part of the war between devils and angels. And it was this plane filled with old weapons that they used. And there was this one weird magical tube, and anything put in the tube essentially existed in all time, back and forward. So if you stuck a book in there, another creature could pull the book out and read it. And that's what happened is the villain's plans were going poorly. So he wrote down, here's all the bad things that happened with my plan. And he closed it and he tucked it into the thing. And then like an agent that he knew cared about this from thousands of years ago read it, said, I guess I'm going to have to make a hero slaying Hydra. So there was this kind of like backward and forward time. It wasn't quite time travel, but it was like you could send messages back in time and then start things rolling, which of course is still time travel. If you ever read, there's a great William Gibson novel called, what's the name of it? Peripheral. I think it's his newest novel, Peripheral. And the premise of Peripheral is that there is a server in China somewhere. Nobody knows exactly where it is, but there's this server on the web, and if you connect to it, you can actually send messages back and forward in time. But it doesn't actually change the future. It only can alter the past on a different timeline. So people would use it to plant little secrets and then watch worlds get destroyed. It was really kind of an interesting idea. And then eventually they can stream themselves into bodies in the future and back and forward. Really wild book. Good read. If you want to read an interesting time travel thing that isn't pure time travel, it's a good way to go. Boy, am I off topic. So, so they did that. They went back. They dealt with, they met the guy who murdered Leaf. Leaf is the ghost that haunts Trollskull Manor. And it turns out Leaf was murdered by a guy named Tyler Milrock. And Tyler Milrock is now this down and out. He's worked all these seedy bars. His life has been terrible. And Leaf forgave him. And he, like Tyler said, you were the only person that ever loved me in my life, and I murdered you, and I have paid for it every day since, and my life has been terrible. And Leaf says, kind of doesn't say anything because he doesn't talk, but he forgives him. He gives him a hug. He actually possesses one of the characters to hug him, which I thought was cool. And then Tyler breaks down and says, by the way, the guy who told me to do this, that this was a good idea, was Frewn, who has been trying to get a hold of Trollskull Manor ever since. So now another little Frewn is a jerk. Thing was laid in there. So that was a nice little side plot. And then I said, so where are you guys going next? And they all said, Blue Alley is where we're going next. And that is where they are headed, is Blue Alley. So Blue Alley, let's see, we'll drop over here. Blue Alley is a tier 1 adventure that is essentially a big dungeon delve. It is I forget how many, I'll pull the map up. Boop. Whoops. The map, a bunch of rooms, 26-ish rooms it looks like, 28 rooms. So lots of different places, and all heavy with the old tropes of typical death trap dungeons. I'd say I haven't finished reading the whole thing yet because I'm lazy. But I said I wasn't going to flip through and then I immediately did. I started reading through it, and I think my only concern is that there's a lot of traps and tricks without a lot of payoff. Like, there's payoff in other rooms, but there's lots of places where you'll like discover a trap, and then it turns out that even the discovery of the trap wasn't self a trap, and then you get hit again. So it's just a punishing dungeon. And I think it would be more fun if there was like these little... So I'm going to drop a few sort of single-use magic items and maybe some other magic items into the adventure, just so people have some interesting things to pick up. Believe it or not, it's dry in my office again. But it looks fun, and you know, it's a fun departure from the rest of the... Evil John says, time to break out the wondrous items. Yes. So we can go to, well, in this case, we will go to Sly Flourish. Start here. And we will go to tools. And we will look at random relics, single-use relics. And I think there's like isn't there a link? Yeah, here's a relic generator. Yeah. So let's pick some interesting ones here. That one's powerful. Prehistoric ring that casts Globe of Invulnerability. Ooh. That's powerful, huh? Glowing Orcish necklace that casts Evards. These are all great. Like, this is, by the way, this is a online random relic generator, but you can use, and in fact, we can pull up, it crashed, but I've got it here somewhere. The Lazy DM Workbook has a similar generator that we can use. Why don't we do that instead of being lazy and using the online one? This one, I don't mind flipping through this whole book because it's mine and I can do what I want with it. Monuments, items. So so let's grab some 20s here. So we have a primeval glowing, and we're going to use an item. Needed D10 63. A glowing primeval mirror. Ooh. And it casts 51. That casts sleep. A small mirror that casts sleep. A primeval mirror. What is a primeval? I don't know about a primeval mirror. Let's try again. Because, you know, what primeval people had mirrors? 28. A primeval cup that casts sleep. Yeah, it's a one use. All right, let's write that down. Stick that in the treasure. Go around the treasure. What did I say? Was it glowing? So that's one. We'll do like 5, and then I can sort of pick of the 5. So we have a 16 ethereal, a rough ethereal, 47, a rough ethereal goblet. I already have a goblet. We already had a 78. 78 is a rod, rough. Rough ethereal rod, and it casts 85. Ooh, that's high. Black, Evard's black tentacles. Nice. I like that one. The cup of NyQuil. Excellent. Calthair, that was excellent. Very good. Let's do another. 13 and 3 is a vampiric. I already did rough. Let's do another one. 9. Ornate vampiric. Ooh, I like it already. A vampiric box. Ooh, I don't want to know what's in there. What's in the vampiric box? With that cast fog cloud. I like that. That one's cool. 18 and 6. Demonic. A crumbling demonic. 92. Crumbling. Crumbling but demonic symbol that casts. It's going to be a low level spell. 16. That casts inflict wounds. So the trick with these, I guess we're going to be seeing this soon. So one of the area where I sort of got into relics was a while ago. I forget when I wrote this article. It was a while ago. Yeah, 2015, right? So it's like 4 years ago. Yeah, more than 4 years ago I wrote this article. And the whole, Evil John, you're not having it. Oh, I was like, no earthquakes. The reason I came up with relics was because a lot of people complained that you got a lot of gold and you couldn't spend it on anything, and there wasn't a lot of magic items were also really rare. So it was like the area that I picked it up was from Numenera, because Numenera has these things called ciphers, and ciphers are these overpowered single-use magic items, right? And I love the idea of that you could drop an item in your game and you can make it really powerful, but it only works once. And the idea is like it should have spells or be cast at levels that are higher than the characters are, so they can one time they can cast a thing. I had a friend of mine who was rolling on it, and she rolled a disintegrate on an item, and she's like, I'm not giving my level 3 characters a disintegrate. I was like, why not? Like, how awesome is it to be level 3 and you've got this wand that has one use of disintegrate, and you're like, make sure we hit the right guy with it. You're like, but what if you hit a boss? We're like, that's perfect. They hit the boss with the disintegrate ray, right? Like, so I you want them to be powerful, but only used once, and then they can sell for a lot and you can buy them for a lot. So like you could go to a vendor, like a shady vendor who sells these things, right? And they sell them and they're like 500 gold pieces, but you're like, well, maybe it's worth 500 gold pieces for us to cast Evard's Black Tentacles once. So that's really kind of neat. So let's do one more. These are fun. I love these things. I love this chart too. If I do say so myself, I mean, it's not my own chart. 18. We already did demonic. 2. Dwarven. That's 15. A burned dwarven thing. A burned dwarven. I really need to get another 10-sider down here. I already forgot it. 46. Burned dwarven glove. Make it a gauntlet, right? And what does it cast? 70 something. 73. It's going to be powerful. Gaseous form. Is that a good one? Let's go with lightning bolt. Lightning bolt was run right below it. Gaseous form. It's like, it's okay. But now they got like a gauntlet. It's like the Infinity Gauntlet. You put it on and you go bang, you fire off a lightning bolt, and then it's dead. So that's some cool treasure. So we got those things. There's some other permanent treasure that I'd like to put out there. And this is something where I need to ask the players, like, what kind of items are you interested in for your characters? An email probably works best. But I know I want to give away a, what is it called? A bardic instrument. Banjo. Perfect item for JB Nevercott to give him. I know that our warlock wants a hellish rod. Boy, that's phallic, huh? That's a Rod of the Packkeeper. Those are great for warlocks. If you're a warlock, man, get a Rod of the Packkeeper. It is a fantastic magic item. Super, super powerful. Who else? Let's take a look at the characters. Anton Greycastle, human Battlemaster Fighter. He probably wants a sword, maybe a shield. Those would be pretty good. Banjo wants the thing. Dwarf Cleric. Beads are always nice. Prayer beads are always good. Brian, Brother Packkeeper. Agarin always wants... He plays a rogue in every game we've played. Pat and I have now been playing 3 or 4 years. We played all of Storm King's Thunder. I think we played all of Curse of Strahd and all of Tomb of Annihilation, and he played a rogue in all of those. He loves him some rogues. But a dagger would be pretty cool. Apocalypse dagger. And then an elven blade singer, which are like probably a light, maybe a light weapon. I'm not sure. So I'm going to ask him. I don't know exactly what. But I'll put those in there. So the strong start for this one, I'm just going to throw him right in Blue Alley and see where it goes. I'm not like, this is just run right from the published adventure. The only thing I'm going to do is I'm probably going to drop in, some more magic items. I want them to sort of walk away with a little bit more money so that they can better fund Trollskull Manor. And then on their way back, that's when we're going to drop Fireball. Fireball's going to hit. Secrets. Always worth doing some secrets. So scenes I'm not going to worry about. It's all Blue Alley. Let's take a look at the Blue Alley intro stuff. So who built Blue Alley? Some say that Blue Alley was built by the Archlich as a test for city folk. That's kind of funny. What else? One of my players already knows about the Cast Lanterns and brought them up, so it might be time to start dropping some Cast Lantern stuff in there. About 1 in 4 people who go into the alley don't come out. I don't know. Not sure what other interesting this is kind of like your traditional D&D game. So secrets are always worthwhile. But in an adventure like this, like they're just dragging through a dungeon, and I don't know that there's a tremendous amount of secrets that I want to reveal here. I mean, I could always go back to the boundaries between Hell and Waterdeep are thin. There, we could do some. We could do some Blood War lore. So why did they choose Blue Alley? They're probably just... So my mom asked why they chose Blue Alley. So they know that there's fabulous treasure in Blue Alley, and they always love fabulous treasure. And I think the players are kind of ready for something a little bit more linear. They, after we ran our last game, they were talking about it, and they're like, man, I got like 15 quest things going on. It's loose. And I was like, yeah, chapter 2 is loose. And I said, it'll tighten up. Like Fireball tightens everything up the next chapter. But they, I think they're ready for a little structure, and they know that a dungeon like this has structure to it. So everybody likes a little bit of structure, even in your open games. Truly open sandbox games can be a little psychologically intimidating. I know the same was true with Storm King's Thunder. Storm King's Thunder is this enormous campaign that takes the whole Sword Coast, and it goes on forever. What else? That's 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What other? Asmodeus. Asmodeus likes his checks and balances. Oh, man, I can't spell Mephistopheles. I almost closed the OBS window. That would have been terrible. Whoops. I think it's Mephistopheles, right? Who's the Lord of the eighth Lord? If you want to know anything about the Blood War, man, Tome of Foes is the way to get the Blood War. Lords and their thralls. Oh, that's devils. Lords of the Nine. That's what I wanted. Yeah, Mephistopheles. Oh, that's a hard name to spell. A lot of devil stuff going on. Evil John says, the Blood War is my favorite section of that book. It's pretty good. I'll tell you the section that I loved, because the Blood War has been written about a lot in other books over the past editions. The one that I absolutely love was the Gith. This whole section on the Gith and their war, I don't know, has been done. I think probably the astral books on the astral plane. But look at that. Look at that artwork, for crying out loud. We'll stick that in our little... That's Vlaakith, the Lich Queen. She's the head of the Gith. Yeah, I would love to run a high-level Gith adventure. Their entire... I think they show it. Their entire lair. Yeah, look at this. Another awesome piece of artwork. That's their city. Their city is residing on the body of a dead god inside of the astral sea. And there are dungeons underneath that are so old that even the Gith don't know what's down there. And I love that idea. Like this is like, if you want to like a high level, imagine you wanted to do like an 11th level campaign that was like the city of Greyhawk. You could do like a Greyhawk adventure here, in which there are dungeons that are filled with 20th level nastiness, all the way through, that go down deep forever, and then go and get involved in all of your Githyanki politics. Hey, Jen, Pixelscapes is here. Thank you for coming. So I think that would be a really fun... Looks like the city's spewing out of its mouth. Yeah, well, they built it all right on top of it. Look, it's got chains coming out of its eyes that are going to Vlaakith's castle. It looks pretty gothic-y, too. It has this whole thing has sort of a, Dark Souls kind of look to it, which is pretty cool. I'm totally digressing again. Let's do one more secret. Then I can, I don't know how many of these secrets are going to come out. So what else? I'll do the castle... I don't know if I spelled that right. So there's our secret. So really, the main thing is read the adventure and run it. Because it's Blue Alley, it's pretty straightforward. I don't... Evil John says, I'm putting Gesso on minis. Yeah, I just started using Gesso on minis. I hadn't really done it before. It's a good way. Like, I use it for statues and stuff. If I just want to do some... I'll take like a regular Reaper Bone mini and I will put Gesso on it. The nice thing about Gesso is it's dirt cheap. Like it's like $3 for a huge ass thing, because artists use it to paint entire canvases, and it's a really nice, not too tacky, real good base layer. And then you can actually then wash it with black wash and then dry brush it, and you have like this cool gray looking statue. It takes like 8 seconds. It's really quick to do. So yeah, Gesso. Cool, man. Yeah, I guess someday I'm going to be getting another giant box of Reaper minis showing up at my door when the next Bones Kickstarter. It's Bones 3, I think it is. When the Bones 3 Kickstarter lands, I'm going to have a ton of minis to paint. And I love painting. Painting minis is really a relaxing... I guess Reaper Bones 4, was there already a 3? Yeah, I'm waiting for it. So it'll show up and then I'll have a lot of stuff to paint. I like painting a lot of minis. They're fun to paint. I'm not super good at it. I'm probably right in the middle of painters. So let's talk about Patreon. I launched a Patreon yesterday. Let me pull it up somewhere. Where's it? Oh God, where'd I put it? This looks right there. Life Flourish has a Patreon. So yeah, so Patreon they're changing the rules about how they do their money and stuff. So I think everybody's kind of jumping on board who's been thinking about jumping on board. It's like, now's the time. And I thought, now's the time too. So I thought about it a lot. And whether I want to do it, they actually reached out to me early on. They were like, "Hey, why don't you run a Patreon for your site?" And I was like, "Well, I'm selling books. I'm good. Like the books sell and they're doing fine. And really the costs are maintaining themselves between everything else. But there's really, one thing is like, okay, so I put out an article every week, and that takes a few hours a week. Probably 2 or 3 hours, probably about 2 hours a week to kind of write an article and then edit it. And then, a lot of times my whole process, maybe I'll share my process on Patreon for those who back the Patreon. But I write articles early, and then I let them sit and stew, and then I go back and I look at them again with fresh eyes and re-edit them. And if they're good, they make it a site. If they're not, they go to a folder of articles that never get published. And I have a lot of articles that don't get published because they're just, they're not great. And I'm not looking to like take the articles that didn't make the cut. And there are a lot of them. It's in my unpublishable crap folder. And I've got 68 unpublishable crap articles. Can I show it? I can show my unpublishable crap. I don't know. Yeah. And the funny thing is, like, you look at them and you're like, oh, those aren't so bad. Hang on. If I'm going to show this is hard. We got to get the layout right. So we'll take the Patreon and we'll stick that up here. And then we'll take the unpublishable crap. Let's see. I'm going to have to switch this over to unpublishable crap. I'm probably showing stuff in here that I probably shouldn't be showing on the web. As long as no passwords are in here, I guess everything's okay. Yeah, so I got a big folder full of these things, and some of them are they're all right, but like no one wants to hear about how to use the Bayes theorem with dungeon mastering. Like, oh my God, you can't get more nerdy than that. How to run Storm King's Thunder with only 15 minutes. You can't. It turns out you can't really do that. You really ought to read it. Game notes from my 13th age, thing. Heroic Spark. I don't know. Like someday, if I ever, here's like I'll give you an article that I'm never going to publish. Yeah, Evil John's like, wow, that's nerdy. Yeah, and it's just self-aggrandizing. Like, look at me, I know what Bayes' theorem is. So like, it's really not great. These are pretty terrible. The Nemesis system in D&D, like how to sort of randomly generate bad guys. Lame. I think this one, like some of these are big, like, all my game notes are huge, but like options for minis. And some of these I've written before. There's more than once where I sat down, I had a great idea for an article and I wrote it down and I had this, I'm like, man, this is great. And I looked and I'd already wrote the same thing before, I really, why does it, I guess the Patreon page isn't showing the whole thing. That's all right. So I have a lot of these, and what I end up doing is I write way more articles than I publish. I usually write a couple articles a week, and usually only one of them makes it, but not really. I mean, a lot of times, So I've got so then my drafts folder has a bunch of these are the articles that have not yet gone through editing. I haven't edited these. And then I have my where's articles ready for edit. So these are ones that have been fully written and are ready for a final round of edits and then go online. And I don't have as many of these recently, and some of these I'm going to hang on for a while because they're all the Theater of the Mind articles that I wrote for D&D Beyond. So I'm going to wait a year before I publish those on Sly Flourish because I don't think people want to hear me talk about Theater of the Mind more. So not as many of these, but a lot of times I've got a lot of stuff in the drafts article, drafts list that make it. But then many times these ones get tossed because it's like, they're not really, they're not really that great. Anyway, so I write a lot of articles and I publish. Now I'm doing this very video that we're talking right now, and I've been doing a lot of other YouTube videos and doing a lot of stuff like that. So I wanted to give people who really are enjoying the stuff that I'm putting on Sly Flourish another way to give back. Obviously, the main way is buy a book or buy a book for a friend. But the books are now kind of their own enterprise. And one thing about the money that comes from the Patreon is not going to be going towards making books. Because if you want to support the book, you buy the book. And the Kickstarters are earning enough that they are generating more books. So I'm working on a book right now. I'm deep into it. And that will be available on Kickstarter, hopefully in the summer. And then it'll be available for sale, hopefully at the end of the year. So that's kind of its own line, right? So I always think of Sly Flourish as kind of two different lines. And one is all the free stuff that I put out every week and every day. And then the books. And before, the books were funding the other stuff. But I think it'd be kind of cool if the other stuff was funded by itself. And one way to do it is to have patrons come and support it directly. And if you support it directly, you are helping to make this stuff available to everyone else. So there are really two different kinds. I kind of looked into this a bit a few weeks ago when I was into it. I'm going to get rid of these. It makes me nervous having my, my files up here for everybody. Oh, I don't know where it is. That's not the right one. That's not the right one. Oh my God. I can't find the window. Let me put something else in this window. We'll put that ship back. That ship is pretty. No, that's not the right one. Whoa, that's bad. Oh, headache. Sorry. You change these windows around. OBS is not the best. There we go. OBS has some issues sometimes. We'll put Vlakith. She's so badass. What was I talking about? The Patreon funding it. Yeah, so so I looked at different kinds of Patreon pages that people run, and I back quite a few. Not like Kickstarter. I do hundreds of Kickstarters, or in the hundreds of Kickstarters. And I probably have maybe, I don't know, you probably see it on my site, a dozen or so. Yeah, so there's a few that I'm backing. Not even a dozen, 6 it looks like, 7. And there's different kinds, and some of the ones that are wildly successful really are creating it's like a subscription model for a new product. So Kobold Press, for example, is doing the Warlock series. This is the first patron I backed. And for a while, it was the only Patreon I backed. And they, so Wolfgang and the guys at Kobold Press are making new products. And it's like a zine. It's sort of it's almost, and I'm sure they don't want to call it like their version of Dragon Magazine or Dungeon Magazine, but it's kind of like Dungeon Magazine. It's like you get a bunch of new content. They are black and white. The art's in black and white. The style is minimalist, but it's good stuff. Good articles. I wrote one of them, so I did a Warlock Lair for Wolfgang before, and that was made available to patrons. And then once they're made available to patrons, they also go up for sale on his site for like $3 a piece. So that is an approach. Elven Tower does something similar. So Elven Tower actually did the maps in the Lazy DM workbook, and he has done maps in Fantastic Adventures, and he and I are working on something right now. And his Patreon page, you get really nice sort of miniature adventure delves that are built heavy on his art. His maps are fantastic, right? He builds these wonderful maps. So, he basically has a product line for this. And there are other cartographers too that do a similar thing. Devin Rue does this and works really well. But I think in Devin Rue's case, so then there's the other kind. So there's patron as a subscription model, i.e., you're giving money and you're getting a thing in return. Think of like a magazine subscription. And then another way to look at it is as a patron model, which is you're not really getting a new product line. You are supporting an existing individual who's making a thing. So in this case, Dyson, I think, you don't really get... Yeah, so he's not giving new stuff out. He is asking for funding and support in order to make stuff that he can put out there for everybody. Yeah, right. Evil John, you freaked me out for a minute because I was like, oh my God, DM David has a Patreon? Like, I would totally back DM David's Patreon. I would do it in a second, right? Because his stuff is great. And you think about the effort that he puts into those articles, and he should totally do it. Same with Id DM. Like, the Id DM, I just backed his today. I should have backed it earlier. And he does podcasts, and they're really good, really thoughtful. Same with James Intercastle and everybody else. So, but in this case, if you're backing Dyson, you're not getting something you can't get for free. It looks like he packages them up. No, I'm not sure he does, right? So, yeah, they're all available. Like, I'm not even logged in, so this is all the stuff that he gets that he gives away for free. And he's very clear. My maps are already available for free on Dyson's dodecahedron. But it looks like he offers a few different things for different patron levels, especially at like $12.50 a month and stuff. So he only has 3, right? It looks like he's got Explorer with no monthly minimum. I like his thing. A special thank you when I scan a bunch of maps. I'll also post a link to them at the Untitled Chapter, so you don't have to wait. It doesn't happen every month, only when I get ahead of my mapping, blah, 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 blah. So this is an approach that to me fits that patron model. And that works. So I looked at a lot of these and like how people were doing them, and I made my whole page up and I sat on it for a couple of weeks. I didn't really do it. Yeah, printable hero. Holy cow. Yeah. So printable, you want to look at like a successful, this is pretty amazing, right? When you think about, what it means. So here's a guy, I think, here's somebody, I don't even know who they are, who makes, and I bought some of these, who makes these incredibly beautiful paper miniatures that you can either print and stick in a thing, or there's some other people that actually print them and sell them too. And he's been doing it all through Patreon, and I don't know how long he's been doing it. But the money in here is like, wow, you're making $10,000 a month. I mean, that's a fantastic salary, right? So it's wonderful to see this kind of stuff. And his is really the example. But his is also an example of, when you're backing their Patreon here, you're getting a product for it, right? You're getting stuff. And he makes them available for sale in other venues, but he's not supporting something that he's giving away for free. So I said, okay, well, I'm going to probably do the first model for a couple of reasons. And one of them is, that I'm maxed out. Like I can't come up with another product line. I'm one dude, and I have a full-time job on top of this, and I can't squeeze out more time to make another new quality product. So I've got all the time I spend writing Sly Flourish articles. I've got all the time working on the videos and putting up YouTube videos and stuff like that. All the time I spend on Twitter, both interacting with folks, but also posting new tips and stuff like that. I've got a whole system for that. And then, writing all that. And then, so there's all that side, which I consider like the, one side of Sly Flourish. And then the whole other side is writing a book. And that takes a lot of time. Like, right, really I'm a one-person publishing group. And it's very rewarding. And I love the books when they're done and they do well. So I'm not complaining at all, but it took it takes most of the time. So so I don't have room for another thing. Like I kept thinking like, oh, I could do like an adventure a month, and it's like, no, I'm already doing adventures, and I'm doing them for books. So that's probably not a good idea. So I said, let me just put it up. And this is a way to support the things that you're getting for free. So if you're enjoying what you're getting and you feel it's worth it, feel free to back. If you don't, that's fine too. Yes, I still love you. I am, however, and I would like to talk about this in the 10 minutes I got remaining. I was going to talk about Shadow of the Demon Lord, but I'll have to talk about that another time, which is I still want to do something, right? Like people who go through the trouble to throw money at Sly Flourish ought to get something for it. So my thought was, well, one thing I could do, and I'll probably write it up tonight and then send it tonight to the people that have backed so far, is sort of a weekly roundup. And the idea is like, thank you for the support. Here's what the Sly Flourish Empire has created this last week. And it is like, here is the article that you might not have seen on Sly Flourish. Here are the videos that have now been recently posted, and a little, just really brief summary of like, here's what we talked about today. And then any other, like I was going to look through like, okay, of the tips of the last week, the D&D tips of the last week, which was the top one? This was the top tip that Sly Flourish put out this last week. People retweeted it and liked it and discussed it the most. And then here are things that caught my eye. And this is an opportunity for me to pitch other people's stuff, but also talk about like, these are the things. So I could say like Blue Alley. I read Blue Alley. These are, I've been spending a lot of time looking at Terrible Beauty by Rob Schwab. I've been, I mentioned Blue Alley already, right? Oh, I really have been enjoying the Misdirected Mark podcast, Down with D&D. They've been talking about, Sean Merwin on there has been talking about adventure design. And right now I'm writing them. That's like a perfect time for me to hear about adventure design. So really interesting podcasts that I've been just hammering through. So, and then like, what are the other big conversations that have been happening on Twitter that might be noteworthy? So I almost look at it as sort of like a blog in the traditional sense, unlike Sly Flourish, which is an article about D&D. This would be sort of like a, here's just a little bit. And the other part though is, and I recognize this having supported both many Kickstarters and lots of and a few patrons, is that, we're busy and we get these emails all the time and we're just going to archive them. So I want to have a thing where it's like, you can read it if you want, you don't have to. Like, archive this if it's not useful. But if it's useful, give it, like, I want something that somebody could read in under a minute, Merwin's story beats this week will help with the social gathering pacing issue you just talked about. Yeah. Is that new? I don't know if I've listened to that one yet. I'll have to listen to that one. Anyway, so my thought for the people those of you who are in chat is, does it sound and feel, hit me hard if you don't think it's useful. Would a weekly short, under 500 word email, maybe even 500 word is probably too many. Like, 200, I don't know if I could do it in 250 words, maybe 250 words. A short email is a short post that just says, thank you for the support. Due to your support on the backing, here's what the Sly Flourish Empire has been able to do. And here's the article for this week. Here are the videos that have been posted this week. Here was the top D&D tip from Twitter. And here are a couple of things that caught my eye that you might be interested in. And it's an opportunity to sort of, point, and I'll do like 3 of those, right? Like, here are 3 things, here are 3 things that caught my eye that I think are really worthwhile. And then with the recognition that people can just ignore it. Like, they're already giving support. Nobody owes me anything. So, but I want to offer something. Like, the people that are backing on Patreon, they care. Like, you guys care. Like, those of you who would bother to come here at 10 in the morning on Sunday to listen to me talk about this nonsense, you care. So I want to give things that, that people would care about, right? Like, like a mini newsletter, right? And the idea is like, I spend a lot of time thinking about D&D. All the time I'm thinking about D&D. And not everybody has the opportunity to spend as much time kind of digging into it and looking at it. So for me to be able to just kind of really distill down in as easily a digestible format as possible, what are the interesting things that have happened this week? And say, here are the things that caught my, here are the things that the Empire has done based on the support. And here are the things that caught my eye. I think that might be manageable enough. It would be once a week, probably maybe Sundays, maybe a Sunday afternoon email. I'm not sure. I don't know when the best time to send one is. So yeah, I don't know. Weekly newsletters are not a bad idea. Mini newsletter, like it. Does anybody think it's it's too much? I mean, worst case, people archive it, and people archive email all the kind. It's great to see you. Yeah. So the D&D Beyond Discord, I want to spend more time in there. It's a cool place to hang out. So I would like to do that. Anyway, so that's my thought on Patreon. If you have if you are interested, if you like what you're getting, and you have the means to support, your money will go to a good place. And I hope to offer a nice newsletter. And yeah, so that's the. Can you get an RSS feed off the site? I think you can, right? I don't know how this works. They don't have my password yet, and I'm not typing in here. I think. I don't know. It's a good question. Just looking to see if they have an RSS feed. I don't see an RSS feed that's directly off the patron page, but I bet you there might be something. Yeah, that if there's an RSS feed, and I can kind of, but I gotta ask, like, what RSS readers are you guys using these days? Like, I've kind of stopped using RSS completely after Google Reader went away, and now I offer it. Like Sly Flourish has an RSS feed, because why not? But most everything I get these days is off Twitter. Feedly, huh? Yeah, I don't know. Interesting. What else? What else can I talk about? In 2 minutes remaining. So yeah, Shadow of the Demon Lord. I'm having a lot of fun with that. We're running on Wednesdays. The group changed dramatically when we got to level 1. Everybody felt a lot more powerful, and that worked really well. And my wife and I have been reading Terrible Beauty, which is a let's see if I pull that up here. That's Terrible Beauty. I like it. It's like, hey, look at the beautiful elf riding a unicorn. Oh my God, she's holding a head. Terrible Beauty is a book about the Fae and the fairy lands in Shadow of the Demon Lord. And I don't think I've read a RPG supplement recently that had such a neat look at the Fae realms. And I think it is a fine, it's a nice meaty book. It's about 60 pages. It's probably about half crunch and half fluff. And the fluff is really good. Reading about like the fairy lands is really neat. And I'm planning, 2 of the characters in my Shadow campaign are both into Fae and fairy areas. So I'm going to bring in more Fae and fairy stuff into my games. It's a whole realm that is really neat. So yeah, if you're into Shadow, and I'll tell you the best way to get this stuff. I mean, obviously buy it if you want. But there's also Humble Bundles and Kickstarters that he does that I think are going to be really... I think the WotC Descent stream is going to be a hot topic for a while. What is the WotC Descent stream? I don't even know what that is. Can I Google that? Is that safe to Google? Oh! Yeah. Stream of Descent. Yeah. That will be interesting. Yeah, we'll talk about it. We'll give that 60 whole seconds. So in May, on my birthday, May 17th, on May 17th, they are doing the Stream of Descent. The Descent is the name of it. And it's going to be a bunch of celebrities and a bunch... Yes, I agree. Capture my cookies. A bunch of celebrities and a bunch of Adventures League folks are going to be running, viewing, talking about, and playing games from a new D&D storyline. So this is beyond Ghosts of Saltmarsh. This is going to be something new. And if I had to guess, and I'm just guessing, and I don't know what probabilities I'd give myself. I would say, I don't know. I give it 30. I'm going to give myself 30% likely that this is true. 1 in 3 chance that this is true. Is that if you look at this, is that it's going to be something to do with Planescape. I don't have any background in this. I'm in no special thing. There's been no playtest recently that's hit my table, or hit my inbox. But I'm looking at this and I see a bunch of devilish hands reaching out towards a angel with a blindfold on. Somebody said that this looks like the fall of Zariel. Zariel is the current devil who runs the first layer of the abyss, and she's in charge of the blood boar right now. First layer of the abyss, Avernus is the first layer, or not the abyss. First layer of hell is called Avernus, and on the first layer of hell is a fallen angel named Zariel. She is in that's her. She is fallen angel who made a deal with Asmodeus to say, you want to be in charge of the blood war and fight devils, you can fight devils. And she is a CR 26 legendary. She's probably, she's pretty powerful. Although I think everybody should do more damage. She does 36 damage of fire with just her longsword. So yeah, she can put out some pain. Moliating gaze. Look at that. The damage on these guys is never enough though. So hey, my mom is back. Maybe she dropped. They're announcing the product on Friday, first thing. They learned from last year's error. What was the error last year? That they announced 2 products over 2 different days? I wonder what happened. Did that turn out to be an issue? I don't know. I mean, I kind of wonder, like, all the sort of idea of product announcements and stuff like that. I'm sure from the marketing perspective, they're really important and it's nice to build up buzz. But the reality is, like, the book doesn't come out for like 6 months. So, however you find out is going to be fine. I don't know. Who am I? What do I know about things? But that's cool. So I'm excited. People felt strung out. Yeah, I guess if you're going to sit, and I bet the people that are doing it also, like, I'm going to talk about all this stuff. And I was always here. That's metaphysical. So yeah. Anyway, so that's all that's going on. Patreon page. If you enjoy this stream and you want to support the Sly Flourish Empire, feel free to join my Patreon. And hopefully you will enjoy a little weekly news digest on what's going on in the Sly Flourish Empire and what is catching my eye in the world of D&D. This video will be available on YouTube in probably 20 minutes. And I will be off to my game. So thank you all for coming. Thanks to everybody who took their morning to sit here and watch me chat on Twitch. I hope you enjoyed it. And I will see you guys all next week. Thank you very much.